Hey everybody, Marcin here. And in this video, I want to talk about Smash Bros. Because there is no denying that the Switch 2 has had kind of a negative aura around it. From when it was officially announced to even once we got Mario Kart World, there's been quite a bit of negative talks when it comes to the Switch 2. Now, we did get the sales numbers, and even before the sales numbers, we knew that the Switch 2 was selling well, but if it keeps having a negative aura around it, it's not going to help the system going forward. I don't think it'll stop all sales or anything, but in general, a company would want their console and what they're trying to sell to have positive talks about it. So that's what leads me to Smash Bros, because this is a series that hits all audiences. Even people that aren't super into fighting games will see Smash Bros and see the characters being added and seeing reveal trailers and being like, oh my gosh. And then the trailers get sent around and it's just talked about a lot. Because right now, the only games that we really know about for the Switch 2 are games that I don't really think are going to get the wider audience. And actually thinking about it, the game that was on the top of my mind was Metroid Prime 4, but that's actually available on the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. So, in general, we don't really have many games that we know of, or any at all, that are going to create a lot of buzz for the Switch 2. We do have Kirby Air Riders coming out, and that's a game that I am really excited for, but again, I don't think that's the game that's going to get the broader audience and get a bunch of hype around it. There's going to be the people that enjoy it, the people that are talking about it, but I don't think it's going to be like a Mario or Zelda. That's no shade to the game, and that's no shade to Metroid Prime 4 either. I don't want to sound like I'm being negative towards those games, it's just that when it comes to creating hype and buzz, I just don't think these games are on the level of a Mario or a Zelda. I think Mario Kart World was supposed to be the game that did kind of create that hype, and I think there was a lot of hype around it, but there have been a lot of negative talks about Mario Kart World. I don't think that game is keeping that positive hype aura around it. So not only is the discourse around Mario Kart World pretty negative, but I think a good amount of people are dropping the game. So that leads us to now. Where is the hype for the Switch 2? Again, the Switch 2 is selling well, but I don't feel like there's a lot of positive talks around the console. And we don't have a teaser for a game that's getting a lot of people to talk about. There has been nothing on a new Mario or a new Zelda. And we've been getting a ton of Switch 2 editions, but the one game that we don't know of having a Switch 2 edition is Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, if they do go the route of a Switch 2 edition and they add more characters, it would definitely create hype and buzz. But for me personally, and what I think would create more hype and buzz, is an entirely new Smash game. And I'm kind of hoping that's why there's been radio silence on a Switch 2 edition for Ultimate. I would much rather just get a whole new Smash Bros. Game. And with Kirby Air Riders coming out soon, I'm sure Sakurai has been done with the game for a bit. Maybe he's still working on some final touches and maybe the game will get some patches, but I think in general, Sakurai is free to work on his next project. And depending on how they treat the next Smash Bros. Game, they may have been able to use Smash Ultimate as a baseline for the next game. Maybe they're not going to stray too far away from what Ultimate did. And if that's the case, that would definitely help with development. But this is Sakurai we're talking about, and he is very, very, very into what he does. We know the level of detail and polish and how much he really puts into these games. So I would not be shocked if he wants to have a whole new, fresh experience. And if that's the case, I do think the next Smash game could be a ways away. And it would really be unfortunate because Smash Ultimate came out a long time ago at this point. Smash Ultimate came out in 2018. So it's been 7 years since we got a new Smash game. And I know he has talked about if he made another Smash game that maybe it would have a smaller roster, but that was just something that he had said at one point. And I think it's inevitable that we will get a new Smash whether Sakurai works on it or not. And I think with the roster being as big as it is and how much hype it brings, I don't know if they really would make the roster smaller at this point. I've made videos in the past on what they could do for a next Smash game, and maybe I'll make another one because things have kind of changed with Switch 2 editions because we still don't have a Switch 2 edition announced for Ultimate, but overall, the characters bring in the hype. I love Smash Bros, but if they took out a chunk of characters that I like, it would kill some of the hype and excitement for the game. So I think the biggest question is when was Kirby Air Riders actually done or near completion? Because there is no way we're not going to get a new Smash game. Even if we did get a Switch 2 edition, at some point years down the road, we would definitely get another Smash game. I see Smash Bros. In a similar vein as Mario Kart. I don't think those games are ever going to stop being made. And I think with Smash Bros., whether Sakurai wants to work on it or not, I think they're going to just keep making them. Smash Bros. Is definitely his baby though, and that's where I think that he doesn't really want to not be involved in it. I think while he's in the business of making games, I just couldn't see him letting other people make the next Smash game. Maybe he could take lesser of a role and just oversee the project, but this is Sakurai we're talking about. I just can't picture him doing that. I think he'll want to get involved. So in terms of what we could get for a next Smash, I have no idea. But with having no idea, that's what makes it hard to say when we could get a new Smash game, because depending on how they go about it, it would take more development time. But the point of this video was to just talk about that Smash Bros. Is a game that could bring a ton of hype. I mean, they could still show a new Mario or a new Zelda, but it's been so long since Ultimate, and I just feel like the hype power that Smash Bros. Has is what's needed right now. We had one of the longest, if not the longest, directs recently. It was either a little over an hour or around an hour, and I feel like pretty much nobody has been talking about that direct at all. If anything, it's the direct that got people to talk about the prices more. And that's definitely not the intention of what Nintendo had with that direct. We should have been able to leave that direct and be super hyped for a long time for the Switch 2. But it feels like more negativity came out of that direct than anything. They did tease a new Fire Emblem game, and I know that that series has a bunch of fans, but that's not going to reach the broader audience. It's funny too, because Nintendo Directs at a certain point, when people start expecting Smash, sometimes it gets kind of old, because you see a direct and they show a bunch of cool games, and then you just see somebody go, that's it? No Smash? But at this point, I miss that. I miss the that's it, no Smash, because it makes everything exciting. When you watch a Nintendo Direct and they go, we have one more announcement, please take a look. And we don't even know initially if it's Smash Bros or not as the trailer's playing, and we're trying to figure out as it's playing what it could be for. That is so exciting. And then sometimes they do tie-ins where it's like they show a character and we get super pumped, and then they show a game for that character coming out. An example being Isabelle. They showed Isabelle joining Smash Bros, and then right after that trailer, they showed that a new Animal Crossing game was going to be coming out. So I think besides development time, the only thing I could see on why they would wait to release a new Smash game is that maybe they want more IPs out so that when the new Smash game comes out, they can show characters from those IPs and try to advertise for more games. But they could at least tease it. I think that's been the strangest thing for me, is that we don't even have a tease for any of these titles. No tease for a new Mario, no tease for a new Zelda, and no tease for a new Smash. I feel like they would show a new Zelda or Mario before Smash, but maybe that's where we're in store for a jam-packed direct. Maybe we're going to get a direct that does show a new Mario, Zelda, and Smash at the end. All I know is that I think the Switch 2 needs more positive talks around it, and I think the way to do that would be to start hyping us up for games that are coming out in the future. It's crazy to me that I have nothing to really talk about in terms of future games that we know of, because the only one I can even think of is Kirby Air Riders. And even though I'm super excited for it, I don't think it's going to be the #1 seller on the Switch 2. And that's no shade to the game. It's just that I don't think that game's going to reach a broader audience. I think it'll still sell well, but I think people know what I'm getting at. I'm just getting at big overall hype. So all I know is that I cannot wait to get on that hype train for the next Smash Bros. Game, and I just hope that it's coming up sooner rather than later. At least just a tease. Even if the game is way out, I just want a tease of something. Even if it's not Smash, Mario, Zelda, something. But the reason I want to talk about Smash Bros. In particular with this video is that Smash Bros. Brings a ton of hype, because it can get dragged out for a long time. Between the official announcement, to then getting trailers before the game comes out, to then getting DLC and having trailers after the game comes out, the hype around Smash Bros. Lasts a long time. But let me know in the comments down below on when you think we could see the next Smash Bros. Game coming, or if you think we're just going to get a Switch 2 edition of Ultimate, let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this discussion, be sure to like the video. If you want to stay up to date with my content, feel free to subscribe. And until next time, I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.